Okay, so what I find really interesting is obviously racing, especially the World Endurance Championship, IMSA, F1. They have a tradition of not being in the same spot every 2 weeks. They like to take their circus on the road. What's travel like for a photographer showing all these things? How often do you think you fly a calendar year or a racing calendar year?
Last year I didn't count my flights, but it would have been a
Mhm.
lot. I'm diamond status with Delta, so I've got a lot of miles. I did count my flights one year recently. I think it was like 2019. I think I did 90 flights.
Wow.
Uh, and then last year I think I was on the road 176 days out of the year. So it's almost half the year that I'm gone, and it is really hard. I think people don't there's a section of Twitter especially, or some of the other social media apps, but I've seen it a lot on Twitter that they're like, oh, you get to travel the world and you get to see all these amazing places, and travel's great. And you're like, these people are thinking like of going to the Bahamas or going to Barbados or going to the Maldives or
Yeah.
wherever. Like, that's not the travel we're doing. We're going to like places that don't have the infrastructure to do tourism the way you think you do. And even if
Yeah.
they do have that, you're not going to the Burj Khalifa or, the Empire State Building or whatever, stupid tourist trap is in that area. You're going to from the airport to a hotel to a racetrack, and then
Yeah.
airport, hotel, racetrack,
Back.
airport, hotel,
Yeah.
racetrack, airport, hotel, racetrack, and in different time zones. And you're still having to use your creativity. So it's not just like you're not just physically using your hands or building
Yeah.
something. The mechanics have a very, very difficult job, and they have a very intense travel schedule, but using your brain on top of that is really difficult. So, when you are
Mhm.
jet lagged or when you're just physically run down and you've just been on the long, like I've noticed it a lot after I've been on a long streak of travel, like almost 3, 4, 5, 6 weekends in a row type thing.
Mhm.
It starts really wearing on you where your brain is just, you're not as sharp as you would hope you would be being fresh and rested.
Mhm.
Um,
I,
and
I
that's
get I get what you mean there because obviously mechanics have like we say building a super hypercar LMDH whatever you want to call it is not exactly like putting Lego blocks together, but
no, it's very complicated.
you cannot take the same photograph at every track because
Right.
otherwise it becomes
Yeah,
that car. So yeah, I get what you mean. It's a different level of high intense focus and creativity. Yeah.
yeah, and that's really what I struggle to help people understand is like they're like, well, you're going to, like, this weekend I'm in Florida. I'm home for a week and then I go to Quebec and then I'm home for a week
Mhm.
and then I go to Bahrain and I'm home for a week and then I go to Sebring, Florida for World Endurance Championship. And it's kind of like all over the map. And that's just, I don't even do F1. Like, you're all over the place. So, and you're not staying in hotels that are, this isn't the Ritz Carlton. There are photographers that do that, but that's not most of us, and that's not 99.9% of us. That's a very small group of people that
That's
can
not
afford.
margin efficient either. That.
No, so we're staying in crummy hotels far away
Mhm.
from the track, and you're just not. It's not glamorous. It's not a glamorous lifestyle. Yes, you get to work around amazing cars, like stuff that
Mhm.
most people only see in Forza Horizon or Gran Turismo or the Formula One game. Like, I get to
Yeah.
see that stuff in real life, touch it, play with it, take pictures of it, meet the drivers. Like, I'm not saying at all that it isn't special, because it is, but there's this whole other side that nobody sees that is just seriously hard work and not fun. To
Mhm.
get to Bahrain or to get to Singapore, to get to Japan, to get to Australia or England or Las Vegas or Miami or wherever, China, wherever it is, it is
Mhm.
it is it is really, really challenging. And on top of that, a lot of us who are, above a certain age, a lot of us have children and families and wives and dogs and just stuff, and you miss a lot of that stuff at home. Like, I FaceTime with my kids, and you know I'm very aware that I'm their father and I'm not there at home to give them a hug or to tell them I love them and to
Yeah.
say goodnight and brush their teeth and do all those things that most dads get to do every single night. So when I am home, I try and be as present as I can. I try and involve them with what I'm doing. I'll send them pictures or videos of myself. Um, like I was actually really cool 2 years ago. Was it? Yeah, last year. So during 2022 season,
Hmm.
uh, no, 2021 season. So my son was having dinner at home with my wife, and I
Hmm.
was doing qualifying for IMSA WeatherTech at Watkins Glen, and Kevin
Yeah.
Magnuson was a client of mine. So he was driving with Renger van der Zande in the Chip Ganassi Cadillac, and Kevin Magnuson is about to qualify the car, and he's just sitting in pit lane, and Kevin and I became friends, and I like literally just handed him my phone while I'm FaceTiming with my son on like before qualifying
Hmm.
starts, and I just handed my phone to Kevin, and he's like holding the phone like FaceTiming with my son, like, "Hey James, how's it going?" I was like, "James, this is my friend Mr. Kevin," and James was like loves race cars, and he
Hmm.
thinks the drivers are really cool. I mean, he's only 4 years old, but he thinks they're really cool. And in my head, I'm like, my son is FaceTiming with an F1 driver right now, and
Yeah.
like it's just stuff like
You're
that.
more excited than the sun is at this point. You're like,
Yeah,
this is the
and but
coolest thing in the world.
yeah, and my wife took a picture, like a little FaceTime screen grab of it, and it's stuff like that that I try and
Mhm.
involve them, but it's hard to be away from home to not have those
Yeah.
moments with my kids and my wife. To be gone that much is very difficult, and people the couch potatoes on Twitter just say like, well, suck it up, Buttercup. You're at the racetrack with these cars and drivers getting
Mhm.
paid to do what most of us pay to do. And it's like, I'm aware, but it
Mhm.
is still hard. It is still a job. There's days you don't want to do it. If I made you go to every single F1 session for multiple years in a row, that you might be like, huh, I've seen enough F1 cars for a
Yeah.
minute.
Oh, Lewis won again. How nice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the
Yeah.
stuff like that that people don't understand, that, it doesn't matter how good a job is, there's still hard days on a job. Doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is.
Exactly. There's bad days and good days and everything as well. It's like you say,
Everybody's got them.
I know. Look at professional football players. They live the dream, but they've got to
Yep.
do obscene hours. And I think somebody worked it out. Pick the difficult, isn't it? Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think it works out. He has like an 85-hour work week or something like
hmm
that. So
I mean,
you know you get an obscene amounts of money, but that's like three times somebody's normal work week.
yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm working the average work week in a
Just
less
on the
than,
weekends.
yeah, on Saturday and Sunday, and that doesn't include the 16 to 18-hour days that I'm doing, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday too. And that's on top of the 12, 13-hour, 14-hour days we worked this past Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
it's that's. I mean, there's caveats to everything. I think the problem is the same with all social media, isn't it? It's like people see the really good bits and they think, oh, that's the whole thing.
I've
Yeah.
said it before, it's the iceberg mentality where
Yeah.
you have like, they see what's above the waterline, where it's like, oh,
Hmm.
this is so great. And what you don't see is the massive amounts of hard work and bullshit that you're dealing with below the waterline,
Yeah.
that, it doesn't matter how awesome the cars are, what place I am. Like, it's hard to complain about your life when you're in Monaco, but that doesn't mean that my wife can't be having a hard time at home with the
Hmm.
kids, or I'm feeling homesick and I'm missing a birthday. I missed my grandmother's funeral. I've missed my best friend's wedding, two best friends' wedding.
Yeah.
So you miss a lot of stuff, because it's like, okay, this is my job. I can't just stop doing my job. I can't not get, like, I have to make money, but also I have contractual obligations to clients. So
Yeah. But it comes back to what we say about being self-employed, doesn't it? It's like nobody gives you holiday pay when you're self-employed.
nope. And unlike you guys, we don't have healthcare paid for free. So like,
True.
my
Exactly. Yeah.
healthcare is almost $1,200 a month. So just on top of all the other stuff, you gotta pay for things. So
Hmm.
all those things, it just, everything, life has a catch to it. Doesn't matter what job it is, everybody has a catch.
I I genuinely might get that put up somewhere. I think at the end of the day, life has a catch. I think it was one nice. I had a nice thing wrote down here later, but I want to bring that up now because what it sounds like is there's a big understanding in the community that you have as your professional photographers, your racing photographers. You spoke about the guys across the desk from you. What's the community like as it? Is it like a very wholesome thing? I'm not saying you guys all just go out and go take the photo here, you'll get the best photo, and that will cost me my shillings for the week. But like, is it quite a close knit group? Like, do you have friends in the space that you see regularly at the meet?
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're all a traveling family.
Hmm.
I mean, with IMSA WeatherTech, we do 11 races a year. With Formula One, it's 21, but I don't do all 20, or I guess it'll be
Hmm.
23 this year. So 23 races. You get to know, if you spent 23 weeks a year with somebody, you'd get to know them fairly well,
Yeah,
like
half a year, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
like
6 months.
family. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the photography community is great. Like we are all, you know, it's kind of like school. It's like any group of people that spend a fair amount of time together. There's people that you dislike, there's people that you can tolerate, and there's people you really like. And you have like friend groups, not necessarily like cliques, but you have people that you gravitate toward that I respect their work. There's people that
Yeah.
we just don't have that much in common, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But it's not just there is a really good camaraderie in most of these media centers in the various series. Some series are better than others. Like
Hmm.
I've always struggled to feel like welcome in some series just because I think that some of them are just they have too much they have too much of a work like schedule. It's the season is
Okay.
too long. So yeah, it's just I mean you can probably deduce what series that would be, but it's just too much, and so they just kind of get a little bit burnt out, and so it just affects people's moods and ability to relate to other people and get along with other people. But
Hmm.
most series, it's great. We go to dinners together. We'll, there's banter, like we're making fun of each other in fun, friendly ways. We're poking at each other. We're, like
I
photography.
love that. I love that.
We're talking photography shit talk. Like you got a new sharp from that session. You just phoning it in. Like, somebody will leave at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, like 20 minutes after the session's over, and we're all like, "Wow, working half days, huh?" So it's
Only the 60-hour work week clocked in. This
yeah,
guy's clearly got somewhere to be.
exactly, but it's fun. Like there's nobody that just really doesn't like each other.
Mhm.
We're not gonna like have a fist fight that breaks out. But yeah,
I always
we're
wondered what
all
goes on in that media center. I imagine there's a boxing ring just off center of that camera.
yeah, but then you also have the people outside too. You have the PR, you have the mechanics, you have the
Hmm.
drivers. There's just so many different roles in racing, and you spend enough time in racing that it's not just the photographers that we're friends with. It's great. Like there's a big family, and there's people that I could rely on for anything. If I was having a tough day, just just needed somebody to talk to. There's 100 people out that door that would sit and talk about anything because I've known them for years, 10 years.
Hmm. I love that. I think that's really important to have as well in a community. Not only that, because you're traditionally, it's not the case, but traditionally photography is seen as like a very solo thing, especially a self-employed photographer. But it's nice that there is that sort of togetherness that you can call upon. Because, like you said, there is very lonely aspects to your job.
Yeah, yeah. It
Uh,
sucks when you have to have dinner alone by yourself in a city that you don't know anybody. Like it's not
mhm,
fun, and it does happen a lot. Like it's just part of traveling.
mhm.
But it's nice when you have friends. It's nice when you have people that you can just connect with. So yeah, it's good.
I love that. I think that's really, really important, and I think that must make your job so much more enjoyable. One thing you spoke about when we were talking about your son FaceTiming K-Mac, and you said he's your client. I love to hear how these interactions that I'm not going to say give away your sales techniques, 'cause obviously that's a trick of the trade you've learned with the soft skills that we discussed. But how does it come about when you've then got drivers? Because it's different. You sort of showing your wares, going, I took this many photos at the race weekend. I was paid to be here by somebody, but I also have these for sale. Would you like to buy any of them or rights to them? How does it start the other way around when clients are coming to you saying, "I want you to be here at this race to take these photos at these times"?
Yeah, I mean it's just meeting people. I mean,
Mhm.
Kevin was introduced to me by his teammate at the time, and his teammate is somebody that I've known for a long time, and he was teammates with another friend, and it just you meet people, and social media has been such a big part of how I've grown my business because you can put a picture on social media
Mhm.
and that gets shared, or you could tag a driver, and and it can quickly like kind of blossom from like a picture you post to a lot of people see it and the right people see
Hmm.
it. It's not just about like, oh, I got 12,000 likes on this and 1.5 million people saw it. It's like, okay, great, but like, what did you get out of that?
Yeah.
And the what did you get out of that is the important part. Is like, did it go to the right people? Did it get seen by a bunch of 14-year-olds in India or China, or did it get
Hmm.
seen by like the people that make decisions about hiring photographers on a race team? Um,
Hmm.
so it's really just the people that you meet along the way that introduce you, just building those relationships. I could walk out the door and talk to photographers, videographers, drivers, mechanics, and all of those people can introduce you to somebody, and that's how all of it has come about. It's really not I'm not that talented with a camera, but I can talk to most people in this paddock.
Hey, thank you for listening to this clips episode on YouTube. And then if you want to hear the whole podcast, you can find them on Apple or Spotify, as well as the full video version on this YouTube channel, alongside all the other great content we produce on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you again on another clips episode or in the full episode podcast. Tweet us, tag us, let us know what you thought. All the links are down in the description. It means the world that you guys come and support us. So thank you very much.